Hey guys, you're watching the Terahertz, and today we're going to talk to you about what you should look for in buying a PC. So let's get started. Alright, first things first, before you'll want to even think about buying a PC, you'll probably want to think to yourself, am I wanting to get a new one? I mean, sure, my old one's slow, but do I really need a new one? It's really up to you and what you're using your PC for. If you're wanting to do gaming, your PC will have to be upgraded, I would say at least every 4 years, depending. If you're doing video editing, it would probably, unless you were spending a fair amount on it, maybe 2 to 3 years. Just these are random estimates, depending on when new parts come out and whatnot. If you're just web browsing, your PC should last you quite a bit, and there's no reason to upgrade, say, without like wanting new software or compatibility issues with older versions. Needing new software, which is great, but doesn't really mean you need a new PC. Sometimes it does, most cases it doesn't if you have a PC in the last few years. So, it's the first thing. Think about if you actually need the new PC. Well, now here's the second thing. What are you going to use the PC for? Well, first of all, if you think to yourself, well, I'm only going to do web browsing, you'll probably want to spend around no more than £500, right? The reason I say that is because if you're not going to take the advantage of the parts that you use right there and then and there, it's nice to have extra horsepower, but if you're not going to use it, there's no point in spending your money on it. Pardon me. Because in a few years, that those parts will be, how can I put it, in the past, which sounds kind of weird, but they'll be less powerful compared to newer technology, which would have been the same price as what you've bought the old technology for. So that's one thing to take into account, and you'll just end up spending more money for stuff you don't need. So that's one reason. If you're, say you're wanting to do light gaming or just some HD rendering of polygons like graphics and stuff like that, you're probably wanting a decent integrated, maybe like an AMD APU graphics or a discrete graphics card. I'll go over these subjects. So an AMD APU or any CPU, central processing unit, some don't, most do, have an integrated graphics card. Now a graphics card is what processes all your 3D images and pretty much all that. That's what handles all your graphics, and that's why they're called graphics cards or graphics processing units. And without one of those, you can't really output to a display or anything like that. So you need one. That's first of all. Most computers already have an integrated graphics card into the processor, or they have a discrete one, which is a separate component outside the processor that manages your graphics, which are tons times much better than the integrated graphics solution on CPUs. In most cases they are. There's a few exceptions like the AMD APUs, which have pretty decent onboard graphics onto the actual CPU rather than on discrete ones. Like I've got an old FX 5200 from an Nvidia, and a new AMD APU could easily beat that, like no problem, but that's graphics cards around about like 6-8 years old. So that's something to take into account for. So if you're wanting for light browsing, light gaming, and say other stuff like programming, you're probably wanting a graphics card. Everybody's probably wanting a graphics card at this rate. So this moves on to the third subject. If you're wanting to go into gaming, don't expect to pay £400 and be happy with it. Well, you could be, but your expectations will be too high, and you'll be like, I'm going to get a gaming PC for 400 quid, banta. But that doesn't work out properly, or ever. Unless you're really wanting to play games at lower resolutions and lower settings, you'll be happy with it. You'll be like, oh, that's no problem, at least I can play it, sort of thing. But if you're wanting a decent gaming PC that runs at high resolutions, high graphics, looks awesome, you're gonna have to spend 600 plus. Yeah, 600 plus, something like that. I'm talking in pounds, by the way. So if you're in America, you get the prices fluctuate. I'm pretty sure some components are cheaper in America. So, but yeah, it's kind of hard to say because you can build a PC, you can get cheap, and it can play games, but not at the greatest graphical settings. And that's the whole point in buying a better GPU, is because, or graphics processing unit. You know, the thing I was talking about before, the discrete ones. The reason to buy one of them for gaming is that you get more frames per second in your games. And now you're probably saying to me, what the fuck does FPS mean? So like in this camera that you're watching on, it's recording at 50 frames per second. After like rendering and stuff like that, that might change down to 30, but right now in raw footage it's recording 50 frames per second, so it's taking 50 shots each second, and that gives it a smooth motion. Whereas if it was, say, 16, it'd be slightly choppy because it's only taking 16. There's less smoothness because there's less frames per second. Or when I say frame, I mean a picture. So it's basically a picture or frame is a picture. If that makes sense. And so that's the whole reason why you're wanting the better graphics cards, because you can bump up them details and high resolutions. Like, I don't know if you want to go crazy, like 4K or something like that. And then you get more FPS with the with higher settings, with a better graphics card. But don't expect to, you know, play at 4K right now with the technology we have. You can, it's possible, but you'll need to end up buying 2 graphics cards if you want to play at 4K with all the settings up, depending on what game it is. But at medium to low settings in any graphics card right now, will probably play in 4K pretty well and pretty decently. So 4K won't be a big thing, I don't think. Even if it gets big, because right now monitors are getting really cheap. I remember seeing a monitor for going for like £500 or something like that, which I thought was quite cheap. A 4K one, and that was made by Samsung, and that was 60 Hz, and that was pretty decent deal. But I think 1440p is round about the area of, yeah, that's a good resolution and you're going to be able to play your games fine. And I think that's going to be the threshold, and that's where it's going to stop. But I could be wrong, so you could wait on to play on 4K, or you could continue playing your 1080p monitor, which still looks gorgeous. Like 1080p looks really, really good compared to old VGA monitors with like lower resolutions of 768 or something. That's laptop resolution. I'm talking about like the old square VGA monitors, but I'm blabbering on right now. So if you're wanting a gaming PC, you'll be happier spending a little bit more money. Now that's just because we're a PC building service, and you're probably thinking, wait, these guys are wanting money on me. I'm not joking here. You will be disappointed. I was disappointed when I got that machine over there, that Alienware. A bit disappointed with the price of it, because I could have got something that was 3 times better for the same price, so that was quite disappointing. But always spend a little bit more, even if it's like, say, 50 quid more on the graphics card or the processor or something like that. If it's more value per pound, go for it, man. There is a certain limit where you go over like the thousands or something like that, where you'll be spending extra money for literally nothing. So I've taken that to count. So spend more money if you're gaming. Fourth, your video rendering, or your doing Photoshop, Adobe Suite, and a load of other software and stuff like that, like video rendering. If you're going for that category, if you're doing it professionally, you're wanting to spend £1,000 above in pounds, minimum. Like, I'm not even kidding. That's what I would call, if you were doing it at a professional level and that was your business level, you're paying £1,000. You're gonna have to pay £1,000. Like, you don't have to, but it's nice to get a machine that's £1,000 and over. with decent, say Quadro, or what's the Fire Pro is the AMD one, is it? I think graphics with a cut, like say 4 SSDs in RAID, and which would be quite unreliable. A couple hundred, maybe 6 terabytes of hard drives, and then actually ready to go. That's your editing machine. That's a total beast. But if you spend something a little bit less, video rendering will take a little bit longer. Photo editing will be slightly sluggish and laggy, and it's not the nicest experiences. But you can get pretty decent video and photo rendering PCs under £1,000. Just depends using it for. If you're doing it casually like I am, 100,000's fine, even though my next upgrade will be 1,500, I think. I've been saving up since like 3 years, but anyways, enough of that. So you've got 3 sections, or 4. If you're a casual home user just browsing the internet, no more than 500. Trust me, you'll regret it. Like, if you're wanting to say, what was that, the second one? The video, like HD video, and HD video, just like overall more advanced home use, but not too advanced. I mean, like adding a graphics card and an SSD. So that'd be the second one. And the third one would be gaming. Like I said, minimum probably 600. You could spend less, but I'm saying to you right now, you'll be a bit disappointed. Yeah, like after a few months of playing around with it. And don't spend too much on a gaming one, because parts get obsolete and weak. Like, surprisingly quite frequently. Like, you can get a good year out of a graphics card before it'll be outdated or something like that. Or maybe a couple years, depending on what the life cycle is. I forget now. But anyways, spend the amount you're wanting to spend on a gaming one. But make sure you look around in forums, benchmarks on a couple graphics cards to see what you're really wanting. And just hook us up when you're wanting to, say, build a gaming one, or a home, or a budget system. We do really cheap budget systems. We've got a couple PCs around about 200, 300 quid, which are fairly decent. A couple of AMD EPUs and Intels. And then you've got the fourth option when buying a PC is if you're a professional video renderer or photo renderer, using Adobe Suite or something like that. So that pretty much wraps up the PC buying guide for today. I might do a part 2 to this, because PC buying is not as simple as that. It really isn't, because a lot of people don't know what they're wanting. They're just wanting a PC that does everything that they want it to. But that's the thing, they don't know what they want it to do. They're just wanting a fast thing that boots up really quickly, plays HD video, and plays some games. I was talking to someone the other day there, and they were like, Fab, can you build me a PC? And I was like, sure, but what are you building it for? And they said they want nice graphics, but they're only wanting to spend around about 300 quid. I think it was David DL. Yeah, shout out to David DL, good man. But if you're wanting to spend, I think it was saying for 100 quid, that is too low for what we could offer. I was just saying to him, you could probably save up and get a lot better, because you'll be disappointed in what we can offer. And it won't be us that you'll be disappointed in, it'll be in the PC, which will redirect to us anyways. So make sure when you're buying a PC, you spend a little bit more than you're actually wanting, because you'll be more satisfied. You'll be that kind of relief that you've got a little bit more extra horsepower if it's needed, you know. So that's the first episode of the Terahertz, and that's our first talk show. Talk show? More like episode of doing random topics, but that's our first topic right now. Our other series is the component, where we just teach you how to install things into a motherboard, how to build PCs. We'll even, in the component, we'll even do build videos of some people's builds, and then probably name a PC after them, or the video after the guy's name, or a desired name for them. So yeah, the website still needs to be updated with some of the AMD ones. I've not got around to doing it yet, and it's going great. Yeah. So remember this PC buying guide, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Alright, see you guys.